It's Wednesday, January 6th, and you're watching The Great Lost Rewatch. Today we're talking about The Constant. Now, normally when I organize how I'm going to talk about the episode for each video, it's really easy for me to do so. I break up the different storylines and I try and present it somewhat in a chronological order. But trying to figure out how to do that for this episode makes my brain do this. Desmond, Saeed, and Frank are on the helicopter heading towards the freighter.
Hold on! On your sudden fate!
And it's like you could hear a giant collective, huh? From the Lost Nation. Desmond is obviously and understandably disoriented, and the drill sergeant asks him what his problem is, and he says, I had a dream I was on a helicopter. Then we jump back to Desmond in the helicopter, only he does not know who Frank or Saeed is or where he is, and he is just really confused. I'm really confused. Everybody is just really confused. The helicopter actually gets to the freighter. Kimi and Omar, by the way, did anybody else boo when they came on screen? They collect Desmond and take him down to the sickbay to see the doctor, and in the sickbay, Desmond meets Minkowski, who says, hey, this is happening to you too? It's happening to me. Your future's not looking so bright. Frank gives Saeed the satellite phone in exchange for Saeed's gun so that he can call Jack. Faraday asks Jack if Desmond has been exposed to any large amount of radiation or electromagnetism, which, yeah. Faraday talks to Desmond on the phone, asks Desmond what year it is. Desmond says, of course I know what year it is, it's 1996. Faraday says to Desmond, you've got to go to Oxford and find me in the past and tell me to set my device to 2.342 numbers, and also tell me that you know about Eloise. We and Desmond go back to 1996, and we go to Oxford, and there's Daniel Faraday, who, by the way, does not pull off the long hair look. Faraday totally starts freaking out. He unveils this maze, introduces us to Eloise the rat. He sets the machine to the numbers that Desmond gave him, some kind of weird purple beam, and then he lets the rat loose. Desmond says, what's so amazing about a rat running a maze?
I just finished the maze this morning. I'm not going to teach her how to run it until an hour from now.
Then Desmond, responding for the audience, says, she time traveled? And Faraday explains that she didn't time travel as much as she consciousness jumped. Desmond was passed out in a chair and he's looking worse for the wear, like this is really having an effect on him. Faraday says that's because when you consciousness jump, the longer it goes on, the harder and harder it is for you to get back in a reasonable state of mind, and your mind has a hard time kind of understanding what's happening to it. And in order for it to stop, it needs a stability, something that exists in both times, which he calls a constant. Desmond has a constant, it's Penny, aww. And in order for the constant to help re-stick you into time, you've got to make contact with this constant in both time periods. So we're in 2004, Minkowski says it's going to be really difficult making contact with your girlfriend because someone sabotaged all our communication equipment. Plus they're also locked in there, except they're not. They turn and the door is open. And Minkowski says, looks like you have a friend on the ship. Ugh. And then Minkowski's nose starts to bleed, and this is the first instance on Lost where we learn that nosebleed equals not good. Back in 1996, Desmond goes to an auction to talk to Charles Widmore. Side question, how did he know that Charles Widmore would be at this auction? Widmore just purchased the journal of the first mate of the Black Rock, and that journal, by the way, was owned by the Hanzo family. Desmond tells Widmore he needs to know where Penny is, and Widmore's like, sure, why not? My daughter hates you. Here's her address. We then jump back to 2004. Minkowski has some kind of seizure and then dies, and then very ominously, Desmond's nose starts to bleed. He then jumps back to 1996 and goes to Penny's house. Desmond says, I need your phone number. I promise I won't call it for 8 years. Please, please give me this number. And she does, and then tells him to leave. Back in 2004, Desmond gets a number right in the nick of time. Saeed has fixed the equipment, makes the phone call. Penny answers, and what is, I think, easily the most romantic scene ever on Lost.
I love you.
I love you too.
I don't know where I am, but
I'll find you, Des.
I promise.
No matter what.
I'll come back to you.
I won't give up.
I promise.
I promise. I love you.
Then we go back to the island. Faraday is looking through his journal, and one of the journal pages says, if anything should go wrong, Desmond Hume will be my constant. And that's the constant. I'm exhausted. Liz, you're talking about the other woman tomorrow, so I'll see you then.
We're gonna need to watch that again.
I don't know what it's like where you guys are, but the island is looking really attractive right about now.